This is 𝗘-hes death race, known as the rush lane. How does it work? Simple. Pay a small stake to jump into the next race. All the stakes go into the prize pool, so the more players, the more money there is to win. Once enough players join, the race is on. Races last just a couple of minutes and are fully automated. Rush Lane is driven by our unique physics-based randomness engine. Starting positions, track segments, and traps are all randomly generated, and we've tested over 10,000 races to ensure no player has any advantage over another. Cheer on your racer as they scream down the winding city streets and through mysterious alternate worlds filled with dangerous traps and pitfalls. The first player to cross the finish line wins the biggest share of the prize pool. But don't worry, the top few finishes are also in the mix to win. The exact number of winners will change depending on how many players were in the race. The more players, the more winners. Rush Lane is live 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, so you can jump into the action anytime you want. Good luck out there, racers. Only on Rivalry.com.
This tournament is powered by Rivalry. Ready, set, bet. Organized by Midnight Mayhem.
Three, two, one.
This is Keanu Reeves, and welcome to Rush Lane. Rush Lane is a new intense multiplayer racing game where you can compete against real players to win real money. Set in the towering crime-filled metropolis of Hub City, here champions put their life on the line for glory, power, and riches in the ultimate death race, known as the Rush Lane. How does it work? Simple. Pay a small stake to jump into the next race. All the stakes go into the prize pool, so the more players, the more money there is to win. Once enough players join, the race is on. Races last just a couple of minutes and are fully automated. Rush Lane is driven by our unique physics-based randomness engine. Starting positions, track segments, and traps are all randomly generated, and we've tested over 10,000 races to ensure no player has any advantage over another. Cheer on your racer as they scream down the winding city streets and through mysterious alternate worlds filled with dangerous traps and pitfalls. The first player to cross the finish line wins the biggest share of the prize pool. But don't worry, the top few finishes are also in the mix to win. The exact number of winners will change depending on how many players were in the race. The more players, the more winners. Rush Lane is live 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, so you can jump into the action anytime you want. Good luck out there, racers. Only on Rivalry.com.
This tournament is powered by Rivalry. Ready, set, bet. Organized by Midnight Mayhem.
Three, two, one.
This is 𝗘-H𝘂𝗺𝗃𝗃, and welcome to Rush Lane. Rush Lane is a new intense multiplayer racing game where you can compete against real players to win real money. Set in the towering crime-filled metropolis of Hub City. Here, champions put their life on the line for glory, power, and riches in the ultimate death race, known as the Rush Lane. How does it work? Simple. Pay a small stake to jump into the next race. All the stakes go into the prize pool, so the more players, the more money there is to win. Once enough players join, the race is on. Races last just a couple of minutes and are fully automated. Rush Lane is driven by our unique physics-based randomness engine. Starting positions, track segments, and traps are all randomly generated, and we've tested over 10,000 races to ensure no player has any advantage over another. Cheer on your racer as they scream down the winding city streets and through mysterious alternate worlds filled with dangerous traps and pitfalls. The first player to cross the finish line wins the biggest share of the prize pool. But don't worry, the top few finishes are also in the mix to win. The exact number of winners will change depending on how many players were in the race. The more players, the more winners. Rush Lane is live 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, so you can jump into the action anytime you want. Good luck out there, racers. Only on Rivalry.com.
This tournament is powered by Rivalry. Ready, set, bet. Organized by 𝗦𝗽𝗂𝗧𝗧𝗧.
3, 2, 1.
This is 𝗘-H𝘂𝗺𝗃𝗃, and welcome to Rush Lane. Rush Lane is a new intense multiplayer racing game where you can compete against real players to win real money. Set in the towering crime-filled metropolis of Hub City. Here, champions put their life on the line for glory, power, and riches in the ultimate death race, known as...
And good afternoon, guys. We are now here sa ating E-numan session, international special, of course, with our very prestigious guest this afternoon. So, by the way, thank you very much for watching our podcast right now. And for those people na hindi pa naka-follow sa ating page, please follow page 𝗦𝗽𝗂𝗧𝗧 and hope you do stick with us up until later this afternoon. We have our guests right here. So we have MLP Dota and John X Fire. Round of applause for you guys.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
Welcome to our midnight mayhem session. What we call it. We're gonna have a little fun, have a little booze. We always do session. And we're gonna try to break down anything about the under the Dota 2. So what I want is just have a little fun to start. I want you guys to introduce yourselves. But at the end of the introduction, I want you to tell me, if you would be a Dota 2 hero, who would you be and why? I think let's start with Mike right here, MLP.
All right, sure. So my name is Mike. I'm from Australia. Cast Dota 2 for a living. Not much else to really say about me. I mean, you guys know how I am. I suppose if there's a hero I was to play, I would probably be Earth Spirit, and I think that's very obvious to John, who's smiling right now. I'm sure you could have guessed that, John.
Yeah, very
What
simple,
was
Mike.
it? Earth Spirit?
Yes, absolutely.
Could you give
So
us a little bit of background why Earth Spirit?
so calm. So I'm an old man, you see. So I'm learning patience. I'm learning to be calm. So he's the guy that he's my favorite hero. So I'd like to be him. I'd like to be a monk in the woods, just by myself. So Earth Spirit it is.
Like a wise guy, a wise
Absolute.
old guy, right?
Yeah.
KOTL, Keeper of the Light. How would you take about it? I mean, KOTL versus Earth Spirit. Who would you like better?
They're both old.
I'd rather not be a keeper though. I mean, he looks like he's about to die. Much rather the Earth Spirit, It looks like a young man,
I see. Well, thank you very much for that one, Mike. And then we'll move on to John. So, short introduction and Dota 2 hero. Who would you like to be?
Name's John. John 𝗘-hes𝘂𝗺 online. Cast for Dota 2. Been casting since I think with Mike since around 2017. That's also the first time we met. If there was a Dota 2 hero I could be, that's a tough one because they're all really strong guys. I'm not a very strong guy. I guess Warlock. I'd be Warlock because he's a weird fella. He just carries a book. He talks to himself with words no one understands, and sometimes he summons a demon. So that's kind of very fitting.
So you summon demon also, in a way.
Yeah.
Can I put it like that?
Yeah. The demon within. I think it's a metaphorical demon within. Yeah.
I wanted to see that demon, to be honest.
I've shut down that part of me because back in the day when you'd play 5 to 10 games of Dota. At the end, you are just a demon, no matter who you are. You don't go through 10 games of Dota a day without being sane. By the end, you're a demon. So I've let go of that. I've slowed down the pace.
I think
more relaxed.
Every Dota 2 player actually knows that one. I mean, even the kindest of the kind that I've met in person who plays Dota 2 is a demon in game.
Yeah, just happens.
Yeah, okay, there you go. So we're going to, again, this is a podcast, so we're going to ask you some series of questions right here. So I just wanted to know first, so we're going to straight and jump into the questionnaires right here. So how have you guys started shoutcasting, by the way?
Oh, that was a long time ago. So I think it was me who no, John was already involved in casting in a way, I believe. You were doing a little bit of casting work. I was working a full-time job at a bank. And I just hated everything about it. I couldn't stand working in a corporate environment. So one day I spoke to my wife, and my wife said, "Hey, you got a nice voice. Why don't you try casting? You always talk about it." As I used to be very intrigued with the casting scene, right? Like I used to be really into how they did everything, and I just tried it out. Ended up working, and then I ended up meeting 𝗀-𝗃𝗃𝗃, and I heard his voice and we casted once together, and I just decided, you know what? Maybe this will work. Maybe we could make it work together. So here we are, just casting together for the past, I don't even know how many years.
So it was Mike who really gave that quote-unquote indecent proposal to John, right?
Yeah, almost. So to be honest, Mike was the big guy who really wanted to go casting, right? It was his big dream. For me, it's a weird story because so I've been watching Dota 2 since, TI1. I've been playing Dota since Dota 1 back in 2006, 2007. It was never really a dream of mine to be a caster. Frankly, I think Mike knows this. I felt like I didn't have the voice, yada, 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 stuff like that. So I casted, my first cast was in 2013 in the Reddit Dota 2 League when they had Southeast Asia. They still had a Southeast Asia amateur league, right? It's just friends playing 5-man stacks. So I had a team. And we were trying to scrim against someone. My team had 6 members. Everyone showed up, including the stand-in. I was like, all right, you guys play. They play, and then I'll cast if that's fine. The enemy team said, fine. We casted. There were a bunch of people watching from RD2L. I think a European guy was watching, a guy named 𝗃-hes, and he was like, hey, your casting's pretty good. Why don't you cast some for scrims in EU? So I casted there as well. Then it kind of died, right? 2013, didn't cast for 4 years until 2017 when a little league called Echo League was up. I was playing there again. I was a moderator for that league. Mike was casting there. So that's where Mike was casting. And a couple of big names. Moxie was there.
Yeah.
I think Nomad was there for a bit. I think her friend 𝗦𝗃𝗀𝗃𝗃 was there. So there were a few casters up and coming there. And 𝗲𝗀𝘃𝗃 was looking for people to cover Southeast Asia. And I was like, all right, if no one's there, here's my one really bad VOD from 2013. She's like, all right, cover Southeast Asia, no one's there. And that's when me and Mike started working together. There was one game where one of our friends couldn't join Mike for co-casting because he was actually the one supposed to cast. Didn't show up. I went with Mike instead because I was working the lobby. And we just kind of hit it from there. It just worked out.
I see. Yeah, I think I could remember 𝗲𝗃𝗃 from the Echo League. I think I've watched some of you guys stream because I've been a fanboy of Dota 2 ever since. And before I started my career as a shoutcaster as well in the Philippines, I really, watch a lot of VODs, not only in the Philippines but also internationally. I mean, personally, what I wanted to really do is to shoutcast internationally, basically. I've had some offers, I've had some opportunities, but as of now, no big break yet. But hopefully, in the future. But you guys, I mean, you guys have known each other for what? 7 years? 6 years, if I'm not mistaken, right?
4 years? 5 years,
4
yeah.
years.
It's been a while, yeah. Around 4 or 5, I think, yeah.
Yeah, and I think it is mostly for people, I think Mike has an idea of how the Philippine Dota 2 scene is. So I just wanted to ask, because there's really a lot of people right here in the Philippines who is quite curious how shoutcasting is. I mean, is it really hard to start, or is it really hard in general?
In terms of play-by-play, to get started, it's easy. Like, you just practice in your own home, you listen to yourself, but to make it, like, to get opportunities is really difficult. So yeah, it's challenging in the sense that it's very, very hard to get an opportunity that means something, and to progress throughout your casting journey. And technically, with the actual casting, I would say casting's easy, but casting well is difficult, right? Like, because you could stumble on your words a lot. You might have a really bad voice, or maybe you can't add hype to the games, or there's so many things that go into it that I think when you're sitting there just watching as a crowd member, it's very hard to pick up on like exactly what we're trying to do to provide the product that we're trying to provide. So I would say casting at a high level is very difficult, but casting in general, I mean, you can just cast if you want. It's not too difficult. But I think a lot of people have actually tried. Like, I've had a lot of friends that will try to cast just to see how hard it is. Just on the spot, they'll start trying to cast a pub game or something, and automatically 10 seconds in, they'll realize they have nothing to say. They'll have no idea how to do it. So I say casting well is hard, but casting, anyone can cast if you want to. It just takes a lot of practice.
So let's go into the specifics of that one. Because here in the Philippines, I don't know if you know the term "dami mong alam," which means that you know too much. It's like a mockery of that one. But does shoutcasters really need that kind of knowledge when it comes to the game?
Knowledge, I think a base fundamental knowledge is important. It depends on the person you're partnered with, right? Like, if you have a really, really strong analyst, like a really intelligent, I'd say, analyst, then you don't have to be too smart about it. You just have to know the fundamentals. You just need to know how to play the game, basically, and know all the skills. But if you have like if you have a different dynamic, I'd say it's a bit different. Like, personally, with John and I think John's analysis is really good already. So I don't really need to add to the analysis, but I like to. So I like to talk with John and bounce ideas off him during games. So I don't think it's necessary, but I think you'll notice shoutcasters that are knowledgeable about the game will naturally probably be better casters. Like, they'll probably be able to relate to the crowd better, especially the higher level crowd, right? Like your Immortals and your High Immortals and everything like that. If you've ever watched a Dota game with High Immortals, they get very, very, very upset at what the casters are saying 24/7. So I think it pays to know what you're talking about, even as the play-by-play.
I see. I would also like to ask, I'm just quite curious because there is this mentality here in the Philippine Dota 2 community wherein people are saying that you should have high rank, at least just the high rank as a proof that you really are a good caster. I mean, is that really true for you guys?
Um, I think rank doesn't really matter so much. I think rank because casters are there for the entertainment, right? So we're there to entertain you and put on a show and tell you the story. I don't think rank matters. I can give examples of other casters that are pretty low rank, but I don't think it's probably not a nice thing to do. But you get my point. Like a lot of the top casters, they're not really high ranked. It's all about how well they can put on the show. John, do you agree with me? Do you think we need to be high rank? I'm not sure.
No, it's like there's a difference with reading Dota well and playing Dota well, right? Like it's a very subtle difference, and for a lot of people, that connection with knowing the game and playing the game well is a 1-to-1. But there's a different aspect to actually playing the game well. I think it does help more on the analyst side to have a high rank. Like for me, example, I'm not going to out myself completely, but I'm not immortal. I haven't been immortal. I think the highest I've been is like 5.5K, maybe 5.4, or no, actually 5.1. So 5.1 is my peak. But I think for analysis, for new analysts, it's easier to be high rank and be taken seriously. At the same time, that doesn't guarantee you're saying the right things. It doesn't guarantee you already know everything about the game, because Dota 2 is a game where a lot of things happens for very different reasons and for different circumstances. The key thing, whether or not you're divine or ancient or legend, is that you understand why things happen. So maybe it helps to be higher, but it's not necessary. As long as you can break it down, as long as you understand why things are happening, then play rank doesn't quite matter, because you can play really bad, but you know what you're supposed to do. You just don't recognize it in the game. That's a different factor compared to watching it with God's view in the game and understanding why movements are happening and item builds are this way and all of that.
Yeah, and I think if I may go on John's point, I think if your analyst isn't high ranked and they're not doing their research and they're not reading the stats and they're not learning the players and their play style, then I think you do have a problem. But I think, yeah, if your analyst is hardworking, they do their proper research, and with John in particular, like the way our duo works is I don't understand everything that happens in the Southeast Asian countries. I don't understand. I can't read the languages. I can't understand some of the slang. So, John doesn't necessarily need to be some crazy high rank dude to fit what we're trying to do anyway. I just need him to be able to help me understand what's going on with these players as well. Like there's a lot of information that he gets that other casters just can't get because they're not local. They don't understand things within the region. So I think people like John have inherently more value, because we all know how Dota is meant to be played at this stage. I think we all understand how the game works. So I need more from John, and that's what John provides for me.
I see. I think I can feel for you guys. That's what I've said. I've been casting Dota 2 also, and sometimes when I play those games in pubs, like I could have done this while watching my own replay. Like, why didn't I do this? It's just that I think my reaction time is not as good as like 5-7 years ago when I played Dota. So yeah. I really put in like, I'm not quite sure if you would agree with me, but I really don't have that mechanics anymore to go higher than my rank. And I think that's one factor also. I mean, people who play on the pro level really are, their mechanics are so sick, like 100% sick. So, and I think that's what we don't have. But I think I can agree with John. We're in. At least you have an understanding, and if you are an analyst, I think you should know how the game goes. You should know the meta. At least compensate for that physical, your reaction time lack or whatever it is that you lack in the in game with your knowledge, right? And I think I would agree with that. So moving on to the next question, I would ask, and I think this is a little bit personal, I would say. Does shoutcasting really pay well? I mean, in the Philippines, we all know the situation. I mean, John has an idea, but internationally, how would you put it? I mean, without figures.
It'll be different for both of us.
Yeah.
Right. Because of the country dynamic. So I guess I'll start with me in Australia. It's pretty bad. Not because we're not like because we're not at the top. So for me, in my country, I need to be all the way at the top for it to pay well enough for me to feel comfortable. I would say you can survive on the money we make, but that's all you can do, at least for me.
Just enough, like just enough.
Exactly. Yeah.
How about you, John?
For me, because I'm in the Philippines, I'm in Davao, as every Filipino is. I'm living with my parents, right? Like ancestral home here, so I don't pay rent, I don't pay electricity, I don't pay for my food for the most part. I don't pay for water. All of that's provided for. In that case, it's still very comfy. I think even if I wasn't living with my parents with almost the same pay, because it's international casting, it is a big difference. And I think for someone living in, say, the Philippines, maybe someone living in Vietnam, Thailand, maybe even Malaysia, Singapore would be breaking it. But in third world countries like ours, let's face it, it is livable. I'd say very comfy enough for a single young adult to live off of. The issue is reaching that point. Even reaching this point for me and Mike was already years and years of work. Like me and Mike have been at it again for like 4 years or something. It's only really the past year that's been this stable. So it's only in this last year where I could say that. In the past years, probably not. If I wasn't living with my parents, it wouldn't be comfy. And if I was living anywhere else outside of the Philippines, like say if I was back in Singapore, where I was for university, I don't think I could be able to make it work just from the living expense, right? Like the cost of living is much higher. So for the cost of living in the Philippines, it's livable. But elsewhere, like Mike in Australia, that's a world of difference.
Yeah, I think I would agree with that. Now moving on to the casting scene in the Philippines now, because I don't know if Mike already knows, but Filipinos are actually I think hailed as one of the best English speakers in Southeast Asia, right? Yep. Yet I'm quite curious on why, other than John, we do not have any like Filipino shoutcasters internationally. Like with our level of English speaking, I think it would be better to say that, hey, we have a deal with this one. We can't do this one. But for years now, I'm not quite sure why. Maybe you have a different view on this one? Like, how would you put it? Like, why do you think Filipinos are having a hard time to break through the international scene of casting of Dota 2?
You go first, John. I'll go after.
So this is weird, right? Because recently we've been getting some of our big casters actually out there on stage, like MPL, so the main stage of the finals of not MPL, but the Mobile Legends actual World Leagues in Singapore, diba? We had Filipinos there. We had Wolf on hand. A lot of crew and a lot of casters were Filipino. So in the mobile scene, in other games, it's growing big. Like in Valorant, right? You see Valorant, you see Gian, Illustrado's doing great. Case is actually doing great in Singapore. So there is room for the Filipino talent to grow. What I think it lacked, and I don't think this is unique to Dota, right? This is an issue to every game. It's an issue of growth. It's an issue of room in the esports industry. There's only so many shoutcasters that can occupy the top space, right? And for a lot, it's already established. Dota was established with TI1. We got some new talents up to TI5 maybe. Then it's been very stable on the top end for LANs. It's just harder to break in. And I think for tackling Dota 2 specifically, the big issue is just breaking out. For Filipino casters, it's a lot easier for you to cast and feed yourself if you have stable work. And the stable work for most Filipino casters that's very easy to slide into is local casting, right? You cast in Filipino, you look for an opportunity to work with studios like Midnight Mayhem and get your opportunity there. It's a lot easier, but it's harder to find the opportunities to do that internationally because your competition's from all over the place and you're fighting basically the top guns. So you're fighting a very big battle with a lot of established names, and it's just tough. I think it's just breaking out is super tough. And for a lot of our talent, it's just, you got to feed yourself. You want to keep doing casting, but you've got lives, you've got responsibilities. You have to be able to provide as well. So it's just not feasible to actually keep trying to grind and, just casting what you can in English Whereas, you could maybe get signed up with another studio here and just get paid.
Yeah, that's kind of where I was going to go as well. I assumed that would kind of be the case. It was more of a survivability issue, but I do think as well maybe the Filipino scene, maybe it's a confidence issue. I'm not 100% sure. Like I feel like you naturally just drift towards your own language. And I think when you speak English as a Filipino living in the Philippines, maybe they just don't have the confidence. Maybe they don't think they're good enough to speak in English as a caster, or maybe they feel like their accent is too strong. I know the feeling because I also have a bit of an accent. Like I'm not 100%, white Australian born. So it's I also had a bit of an accent when I was younger. So I kind of understand the confidence issue that might be there. My advice is just try. I think the Filipino accent when spoken in English is quite nice. It's quite nice to listen to. So I think they should just try. Personally, maybe it is a matter of how do we survive, and it is quite hard. But if you can, just try. You never know.
I think goes back to the attitude here as well, right? Like if you speak English, Inglesero ka. People just point down at you. Yeah, they call you names for speaking English. It was something I grew up with because I spoke English from the start because we mentioned it beforehand, but my dad's from Zamboanga, my mom's from Manila. So their common language wasn't Filipino. Their common language for both the relatives was English. So me and my sister were raised with English first, Filipino second. And for us, it was a natural process. Growing up, we kind of got the same name calling, but it was weird because there was no trace of Filipino at all. Like it wasn't very strong. So people just actually assumed we were Filipino American. So that stigma of being Inglesero wasn't really there. But I've seen that a lot from my friends interacting with other people. I've seen it from some people, particularly as I grew older, maybe by high school. People just kind of go away from you or try to discourage you from speaking English. And that could be a factor as well for certain casters in going out there. Not all of them, but certainly that could be a psychological thing as well.
Yeah, it's something that holds you back, right? I mean, like what will my friends were say? I'm kind of Kanye. For Mike, Kanye is it's like a term for a person who speaks it both in English and Tagalog. They mix it one, and it's sometimes being shunned upon here in the Philippines, which I think is not good personally. Because my personal experience on this one, I mean, I've been trained to speak in English way back when I was 3 years old. I mean, my English skills are out there and still. But growing up, I actually speak in in Tagalog, in the Filipino language. Apparently, what happened is I found a work in the call center industry. And then that's where I put my English back again. And then you know how call center people talk, right? You suddenly put in English words in between, like it's natural for us. So it kind of, and then one of my friends started like, konyo, or you're speaking in English. Like, I think that's the mantra right here in the Philippines that we need to remove. And I think that's a good point from John, that I think it's kind of how would I say it? It's not building up your confidence, to really put it out there as an English shoutcaster, mostly if you're trying to be an English shoutcaster. So yeah, good points coming in from John Ray here, and I think that's the that's the one that we need to improve. Now, moving on to the style of the shoutcasting when it comes to, I think I would like to hear from you guys, because you guys are casting internationally, and I think John has an idea on this one because he listened to the Filipino style of casting as the same thing as the international style of casting. So, what do you think are the differences? And I think it is a tip for people. I think there are some in the comment section who's a shoutcaster. So I think it's a tip already for this guy. So what do you think are the room for improvements from Filipino style, if you wanted to transition from Filipino style of casting to the international one?
So with Filipino casting, it's something I noticed, right? Like I think for a lot of us here in the Philippines, right, when we watch Dota 2, when we watch Filipino casting, it's kind of reflective of how we play Dota 2 as well. In the sense that it's like the net cafe culture, so the big play-by-play hype is just yelling all over.
Yeah.
Sometimes someone makes a mistake, you make fun of them. What the hell are they doing? Like, ano ba to? Ang tanga naman, stuff like that. Maybe a bit insulting, maybe a bit harsh, but It's that kind of explosive, sort of emotional kind of display. Whereas for an international cast, it's still explosive, but it's not as strong. It's not as, say, banterish, right? It's a bit cleaner. It's a lot safer. You still emphasize the big plays, but not at the detriment of someone else for the most part. And I think that's the big difference, because for us, it's ingrained in the net cafe culture. That's the culture Dota 1 was built on. That's the culture a lot of us played with. When you're sitting right next to the guy you're playing with, you're yelling at them, you're insulting them, you're calling them dumb. At the end of the day, you shake hands, but that doesn't really translate to the international audience. If you try to one-to-one translate the Filipino cast into English, it is very different. So I think that's one thing to watch out for. The styles are drastically different, and the audiences have very different expectations.
I see. And how about you, Mike? I just wanted to ask Mike right here. Have you heard some of the Filipino shoutcasters that we have already? I think you're familiar with some.
Yeah, I've actually heard some. I can't understand it, which makes it a little bit challenging for me to understand what's going on. But it is very, very different. I do agree with John. It sounds more raw, whereas like Western casting sounds more like a performance. They actually are reacting, whereas we won't particularly react. We'll kind of force it almost at times to make it more dramatic than it is. I like it though. I really enjoy it. I wish I could speak the language so I could actually watch it, because I find it really entertaining. It sounds very, very interesting. It's very different, but I think it's good to be different in that way. I think it's a positive difference.
I see. Okay, so we will rest a bit right here, and I'm just gonna ask you some light questions now. I just wanted to ask: is there any teams that you specifically want to cast, and why?
Teams
specific teams to cast. I think for me, funny enough, I love casting T1. I think T1 for me is my favorite, absolute favorite. Even before they became big in the animators, starting doing really well in the EPC, when we were watching them as Among Us in the BTS Pro series, that stack is just hilarious. Talking to Cuckoo, you talk to 𝗦𝗽𝗀𝗀, they are such funny guys. It's very easy to talk to, and I think that's what makes it fun. You get to actually, talk to them as people, learn more about them. Their personality comes through, not just from chat, but in their gameplay as well. So I think T1's one of the best ones. I think Boom Esports Now is probably also my favorite team to cast, just because they are also hilarious. Like I always make fun of 𝗘-hes𝗂𝗃 because he's in Davao as well, right? Make fun of him because I see him on Facebook and he's getting these free burgers from joints, getting tagged. He's getting some free gear from PC shops. I'm like, 𝗘-hes𝗂𝗃, ako naman din, give me some. Where's my stuff, 𝗘-hes𝗂𝗃? Why are you getting all of it? So yeah, those are my teams at least. Yeah.
I think T1 is actually pretty fun. I mean, they've done a lot of memes during that Animajor run, right? They won major. They won the major, and they've done a lot of memes. So I think I would agree with John right there. How about you, Mike?
Yeah, I mean, I'm the same. I think one team I'll throw TNC in, because TNC is always entertaining, because they always have these really, really crazy drafts that we love to watch. But I also want to say I think SMG has been entertaining in their own way recently. And I tell you why, Graham. They're the villains right now in SCA. I think they're the bad guys. There's an actual, when I'm casting the games, whoever they're versing, I feel an actual hatred towards them. And 𝗏1 and the rest of them, they taunt them, and the voice lines come out. I just love it. I love the banter. I love the trash talk. I don't believe in bad manners. I think it's a competition. Go as hard as you can. If you can get into the enemy's mind, get into it. Ruin them. It's fine. And I don't know. I think, you've got your fun teams like T1 and Boom, but I think SMG, they're the villain SCA needs. They're the bad guys that we needed to be there. And I'm really enjoying watching this.
I see. So I think is it safe for you to say, MLP, that SMG is the OG of the Southeast Asia? Because I've been reading a lot right now that for some OG has turned into a villain this coming TI. Like they're like the villain. I mean, with the controversies past controversies back with trash talking with Team Secret and whatnot. Is it at the same level already with OG? What do you think, Mike?
I don't think it's quite the same yet. I need a bit more. I definitely think they hold back a little bit. I think they do hold back, and it's especially with the interviews, right? Like John and I get to interview them once in a while after a win or whatever, and usually they're very proper. And I just want to hear a bit more from them. I want them to really envelop the bad guy. You know what upset me as well? The FBZ, the other what was it last week? He called SMG weak, right? And it was an accident. It was a complete accident, and that really upset me because I got John to message FBZ. I'm like, John, ask FBZ if he said that on purpose, because I'm gonna be so happy if he's calling another team weak. And unfortunately, it turns out it was a bit of a miscommunication. And I was so unhappy about that because I want them to just hate each other because it just adds to the story. But SMG as OG, I don't think they're there yet. I'd love them to be, but I don't think they're at that standard yet. I need more.
I see. I think we will be waiting for that one this coming, Dota Pro circuit next year, right? So, yeah, that's kind of interesting. I mean, I right now, because I've not been watching games of SMG right now. Currently, I'm reviewing the meta, watching some 𝗦𝗲𝗀𝗀𝗃 videos and whatnot. So I really haven't that focused yet on the upcoming teams, other than the one that I'm casting here in Rivalry. So yeah, so we will, do a little bit of an activity right here. I think we're gonna try to check if our director is actually good or is actually ready to go. Just a little bit of a background. We will test your Dota knowledge right here. Okay.
Oh boy.
We will test your Dota knowledge right here. So here's the mechanics. Okay. So we will give you a point system. We will flash a picture of a skill.
Okay.
And then you will tell us the name of the skill. I've been trying this one like before we go live, before you got into our Skype, and heck, like what's this skill again? Like I know how it does. I know how it, because as for shoutcasters, I mean, sometimes we call a skill like a stun or a slow, right? You do some tricks like that. But at the end of the day, there's some really skills that I don't really know the name. Like I knew what it does, but I don't know the name. And we're gonna test you on those, okay? So we're gonna flash a picture of a skill right here, and then the one who answers will get a point.
All right.
Okay. Now, at the end of we have 20 pictures right here. At the end of the game, I think the loser would actually share to us his most embarrassing moment, if that's okay.
Okay.
All
right.
Okay. Great. We're good to go right now. So direct, could we flash the first one?
Photic shield.
Oh man, that was fast. That was fast. That was a Photic shield. Yeah, there you go. I think that's an easy one right now. So let's go to 1 point for John, by the way. So let's go to the next one.
Ice Vortex.
Oh my God, I didn't know that. I know it's some kind of an ice skill, but I'm really not quite sure what ice skill it is. Like there are really a lot of ice heroes in Dota. So one for John, one for Mike right here. So next. There you go.
Double edge.
There you go, John. So 2-1.
Yeah.
Next.
Oh, Reality Rift.
There you go. 2-2. So 2 for John, 2 for Mike. Reality Rift. A while ago. Oh, there you go. Next.
Frost Arrow.
Frost arrows.
Frost arrows. I actually, what did I say earlier? Because I tried this earlier. I did like a rundown of it earlier. Is that snow arrows that I said? I'm not quite sure along the lines of that one. But yeah. Who answered it, by the way?
I think Mike was slightly faster. Yeah.
Yeah, Mike. So 3 for Mike, 2 for John. Next one.
Oh, Jesus.
Boulder Smash? No.
It's Geometric Pool, I think.
Yeah, it's Boulder Smash. It's Boulder Smash. So John got it. Yeah, it's
Oh,
Boulder.
jeez, how embarrassing.
Oh, wow, Mike. Earth Spirit? Yeah?
Oh
Earth
boy,
Spirit? Yeah.
how
It's an Earth
embarrassing.
Spirit skill. I actually named it a while ago as Rolling Boulder. I don't know why. Because he rolls in. So yeah, Rolling Boulder. The
Teleport.
next one, there you go. I'm sorry?
Teleport.
Who got first, though?
Who got it first?
It was very even. I must
Yeah,
say.
very
Very
even.
even. Yeah,
I'd
I
say.
think we'll call this quits. Both. Okay, next one.
Liquid Fire?
Nope.
Oh.
Oh, it's Liquid Fire. Isn't it Liquid
is.
Fire?
Yeah, Liquid Fire.
Yeah.
I thought
Jakiro.
it's without the D. It's Liquid Fire.
Liquefier. Oh, like an aquafire. Yeah. I can see the
something like
confusion.
that.
Yeah.
So it's liquid. It's really Liquid Fire.
Yeah,
Oh.
yeah, it is.
That's kind of new for me. Okay, next one. There you go.
Is that Ghoul Frenzy?
Feast, if not, it should be Ghoul Frenzy though.
Yeah, it is Go Frenzy.
Yeah,
There you go.
Mike.
Life Stealer. Mike got it here. So next one.
Earth Spike.
Oh god, yeah.
Yeah, Earth.
Lion player.
One of your
Lion.
favorites, John.
No,
Yeah.
always mix it up. You know me.
Yeah, Earth Spike and Burrow Strike. I always mix it up as well. Okay, next one.
Shockwave.
There you go. Wow, Mike.
God, that's so unreadable when you look
I'm
at
getting
it there.
competitive. I'm warmed up now. I'm warmed up.
Yeah, I think
It's
he's
impossible
warmed
to
up
lose.
right now. So yeah, Shockwave. There you go. So Mike is leading by 2, 6-4 right now, John. Okay, next one.
Bulwark.
Bulwark.
Oh,
you
John
can-
got it. Yeah, there you go. John is catching up there. Next one.
Heartstopper Aura.
Oh, there you go, John. Nice. So yeah, Heartstopper Hour from 𝗘-হি𝘂𝗺𝗃. So that's 6-6 right now. Both tied again. Next.
Impale.
Oh, it's kind of quick, but yeah, Mike got it. So we give it to Mike. 7-6. Next one.
Rot.
There you go. But I think John got it a little
All right.
quicker. Just a millisecond quicker right there. Next one.
Netherblast.
Oh, there you go, John. Yeah. I'm kind of confused as well. I mean, I'm trying to remember it as well, but I can't. Next one.
Burrow Strike.
Oh, there you go. Burrow Strike.
All the stuns. We've got all the stuns.
Yeah, we
All
get
the
all the
stuns.
stunts right here. But I think, is it John who made it?
I
It's
think
almost
I think
so.
so. I think so.
Yeah. Okay. Let's give it John. So 9-7, John. Mike, catch up. Next one.
Requiem of Souls?
Nope.
Oh, what is this?
Wait. Netherlord. Dark Lord's Presence.
Nope.
Dark-
what is
Necromastery then. Necromastery.
Yeah,
It's
it
actually
is.
close to John. The answer is actually close to John's answer.
it? Presence
Dark
of the
Fiend's
Dark Lord.
Presence.
There
one
you
of those.
go. It's my
Yeah.
Presence of the Dark.
Thank you, John.
Phrasing,
That's
man.
kind of long, but yeah, that's an SF skill. There you go. Next one.
Blast Off.
Ah, there you go, John. Got it.
You
10-8 right now.
disgusting techies player.
Are you a Tekken hater as well, Mike?
Yeah, I'm a hater. I'm a big techies hater. That's reflection, by the way,
Okay.
on the
Oh,
screen.
God. Yeah, that's reflection right there. We'll give it to Mike. 10-9 right now. Okay, so just a quick question. I want you to expound on that one, Mike. So why do you hate techies?
Man, it's just that hero that doesn't play Dota. Like he's not playing. The techies doesn't play Dota. He plays his own game. I know he's playing Minesweeper somewhere. Turns into a 4v5. Wastes my damn time. I had the experience once where I was playing against the techies and my wife was shouting at me because I couldn't get off the PC. This happened. This really happened. And I was trying to explain why I couldn't get off the. I just hate techies. It's a disgusting hero. Disgusting.
So you're from the techies haters club. I mean,
I am the techies hates club.
Slacks would be angry at you in that point. So, yeah. Next one after reflection. Let's go.
What is this? It's a Bloodseeker one, right?
Nope. It is
No?
not.
It's a Husker. Frenzy?
Nope.
It's not
I'm
Inner
gonna
Fire,
give
is
you a
it?
clue. I'm gonna give you the hero. Okay, I'm gonna give you the hero. Troll Warlord.
Oh, Not-
Fervor?
There you go, John. Yeah, it's
Wow.
Fervor from
Wow.
Troll Warlord.
wow.
Yeah, that's kind of I also didn't know that one. Like, who the heck has this skill? I don't even see this one. So yeah, it's Fervor from Troll Warlord. Next one.
Gale?
Poison attack.
Venomous Gale?
Oh yeah.
There you go. It's
Damn
gonna be John. And it's gonna be
Wait,
Mike.
oh.
I'm sorry. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
yeah, yeah.
just
okay.
it's Venomous Gale, not this
God.
Gale.
They're all green.
Yeah. Next one, please.
Nether Strike?
Poison attack.
It's poison.
There you go.
attack.
Poison attack, John. So we
There you
have
go.
2 left. If Mike gets this too, we don't have any winner. We don't have any winner, but let's see.
Okay.
Okay. Next one.
Oh, that's a
Grave
Visage.
Keeper's Cloak.
There you go, John. So
Wow.
13 and 10. So John is the winner, but just for the sake of finishing it, we have one more right here. Let's see if you could. I think you could answer this one. Next, please.
It's the Necrophos thing. What's it
Great
called?
Fire Hammer. Great Fire Hammer.
No.
Oh, is it Death Pulse?
Great Fire Blast. Great Fire Blast.
There you go, John. Yeah, it's
Oh,
Fire
right,
Blast.
It's Great King Stun.
Right,
It's
right,
kind of
right,
tricky, right? I mean, I actually thought it also as the heel of Necrophos. I don't even know the name of the heel of Necrophos. I mean, I have not been using the hero. So 14-10 right now. And I think John would be the winner. Clap your hands for John right here. Woohoo.
Yeah.
Well done, John.
Easy.
Well done.
Easy.
Yeah. So now, as punishment, Mike, we agreed earlier that you share. I think that your most embarrassing moment. Let's rephrase it. Your most embarrassing moment while casting. Like,
Oh,
did you
man.
remember a thing?
I do. I remember a couple things. I think from the viewer's perspective, maybe the most embarrassing thing was I did a LAN once in Australia, and
Okay.
I know John remembers this very well. I had this. I was very anxious about how I looked, right? So I was like, oh, it's my first LAN, gonna look good, gonna be on camera or whatever. So I had this really long hair, like I do now, but like longer, like double the size, right?
Okay.
And I didn't want to cut it off, so I decided I was gonna put it into a ponytail, and I ended up basically looking like John Travolta. Do you remember that, John? John
Yeah, I remember
Travolta.
that.
It was exactly like John Travolta, and it was just terrible. It's so cringy to look at now. There's still photos somewhere on the internet of me looking like that.
I'm gonna
It's just-
search that one. I'm quite curious right now.
It was the tournament was called Convictus, Esports or something. It was just terrible. I looked exactly like John Travolta. back
You
then.
know, Mike, I'm gonna make it worse. I think you might have looked a bit more like Steven Seagal.
That's the
Oh,
one.
you know, the
That's
laid
the
back
one.
hair?
Steven Se-
Yeah,
the laid
yeah,
back
yeah,
hair.
yeah.
Sorry, I got
there
it
you
mixed up. Steven Seagal, that was the one. And it was just really bad. It was just really, really, really bad. It was,
Oh God.
oh man. I
You
looked.
just
I
need to
thought
do
I
some
looked good.
karate right there. Like, Steven Seagal does that, right? You know, the karate.
That's the
Yeah,
worst
yeah.
part. The crowd was saying crap like that to me. They're like, "Oh, Steven Seagal's casting tonight," and
Oh my God,
man, it's so embarrassing. It's like I look back and it's just cringy as hell. Just look.
Well, we all have those, but yeah, that one is kind of and mostly if the person or the people watching, mostly if it's a LAN, because it's LAN, right? So people would actually saw you right there casting, looking like that. But yeah, I mean, people have those kinds of experiences. So yeah, well, thank you very much for sharing that one, Mike. I think we're gonna move on to the next sets of questions, going not serious, a little bit serious right here. So we're gonna now go with TI related questions, basically.
Okay.
So first and foremost, and I'm quite curious about this one. Hope you guys are not gonna be offended, because personally, I actually wanted to see you guys in the list of the TI 10 talents. Like, oh my God, John! While I was watching the majors, because I believe you guys casted majors with, with Black and the guys, Peacock and all. I was actually watching and like, dude, these two guys are actually casting majors right now. I mean, I wanted to see them in TI, and then when I saw the talent lineup for TI, like, what the heck? We do not have any Southeast Asia representative again. Like, I mean, Moxie, I think, would you consider it as a Southeast Asian representative? But I'm not quite sure. Like, I really wanted to see you guys there. Now, I just wanted to know, how do you guys feel about it?
You want to go first, Mike?
Yeah, I guess so. I think we weren't expecting to make it this year, to be perfectly honest with you. And it's not based off anything regional. I think it was purely that when we looked at our competition, we didn't quite feel like we didn't feel like we were at the top, and at the same time, we don't have any proper international LAN experience, which is always going to make it incredibly hard to get a TI invite. Like, if you don't show up at an actual event, then there's just no chance of making it. So I know you referred to the Singapore major, and we did do that, right? And I think that is a big deal, but honestly, like, if we did it remotely at home anyway. So I think our expectations were really low. I personally still had a little bit of hope that maybe we could make it, but yeah, I mean, at some point, I think one of our casting friends told us the invites had already gone out for talent, and I was just like, well, that's that glimmer of hope gone now. So I think it's a combination of just no experience together internationally, and maybe I don't know, maybe the casting level just wasn't at TI level yet. That's how I saw it.
Yeah.
Nice. How about you, John?
Because we kind of knew earlier that we weren't invited, so we had enough time to prep. But when you see the announcement come out, it still hits different. I think we both, the reality sets in. You're not going to TI, and you're like, all right, well, it didn't hit as hard because, for one, again, as me and Mike always talk about, stuff in the future like that, we tend to just chat a lot about what might happen. And our conversation in TI was like, I think we did great this year. I think our casting was improving. It's on that point, but enough for a TI, probably not. As Mike said, we haven't done a LAN together. I've done one LAN coverage for PvP esports on group stage. Mike's done LAN on Convictus that wasn't really seen because of contributing factors to broadcast, and we haven't been on location since then. Mike's been in studio for ESL Australia a couple of times, which is great, but it's not the same. I think when Valve looks at TI, it's got to be someone who's already been on a stage at some point. So they've done majors, they've done maybe DPC upper div, they've had that shot, and me and Mike haven't. So no hard feelings there. I think when it comes down to representation, I have to give 𝗲𝗲 a shout out, because he is, he's not Southeast Asian, but he's been working from Malaysia. He's been working in the scene for a while. He's a great fella. Love 𝗲𝗲. I consider him a good friend. And he's the one big invite that I'm really happy for from the region. So there is one big guy carrying that flag, and I think 𝗲𝗲 is going to do an amazing job there.
Great to hear then. I mean, I want to go more into that. Like, what do you think are the things? This is actually also more like a tip for myself, because that's that's one of my goals, right? To cast TI internationally. And I just wanted to know, like, what are Valve's requirements for you to be considered as a talent for TI? Do you have any idea about it?
No. They communicate nothing. Literally, we have zero information. Nobody knows. Maybe the absolute top talent, like, I don't know if 𝗬𝗲𝗃𝗀𝗃𝗀𝗃 or Capitalist, I don't know if they know. I can promise you nobody knows. It's
Nice.
we have no idea how they select the talent. We have no idea if they're watching. We have no idea. We just have no idea. I like it like that. I'll add, I do like it because I think it's better that there's no bias when you're choosing talent. I do think Valve particularly does try to choose the best talent that they believe is going to be best fitting the show. But yeah, to answer your question, we legitimately have never heard anything. I've spoken to Valve employees, but never about how to get invited to TI. They are very silent about that.
Wow. So Valve's really that very secrecy, right? I mean, in all things, like all things as usual. So, how about you, John? I mean, I think I would like to rephrase my question
Mm.
more into what do you think, like, casters like me want to break through and have a chance to get a shot at being a TI as a shoutcaster? What do you think that we should do?
I think there are like a lot of steps to reach that TI point. So the big thing is it's almost like paying your dues. Not quite that way, as there have been fringe cases where it's not quite that matter.
Mhm.
But for sure, if you're planning to go to TI, I think a LAN or some stage presence is a prerequisite. 100% you've got to have done a tournament on location, flown out, did it in person, worked with the production team on hand, and done an event. I think that's one big prerequisite. You have to have done a LAN, and of course, reaching that point, it steps down. So for TI, you have to have reached a LAN, you have to have a good following. You have to be up there in the casting quality, and before you reach that point, you have to have done a lot of online coverage. You've had to work your way in a region, build up your casting repertoire, and just kind of get running from there. Get involved with the local online tournaments, even just work from there, build up, get enough presence, and maybe get invited to an event. Then hopefully, once you do enough events, you hit TI. It's not quite, this is not really Valve's roadmap, but that seems to be the path or the direction a
Pattern.
lot of casters have taken. So this is the pattern you notice from casters, that they've done this for so many years. Then they do some lands, and then they get to TI. Just sort of a general pattern with that.
I see. I'll take note of that. Now, we're going to move forward to a little bit closer to TI, I would say.
Mhm.
We have this. This is our 10th TI right now. Like, this is the 10th international. Could have been 11 if TI last year was done, but yeah, this is the 10th right now. For the past 9 TIs that we had, which do you think personally is the best TI?
There are a lot of moments that stand out. I think TI3 for me will always be special, just because that entire fight of Alliance and Navi still stands in my
Yeah.
mind. I think that was the most memorable start to finish journey.
Plus the
TI3.
storyline, right? I mean, the storyline between Alliance and Navi back then was really good.
Yeah, it was outstanding. Like just that rivalry they had built up into TI, the story of Navi going into TI finals, for the third time in a row, and that entire journey, the tenseness of those games, the back to back in the finals as well, and all of the build up in the games beforehand. And the fountain hooking was out there. A lot of things happened, and I think TI3 will always stand out in that aspect. I think EG's TI run is also special
Yeah.
to me because who the hell expected EG to come in with a
Exactly.
sub in Aoi and actually win? No one expected that. I think it's TI3 and TI5 that have got to be the standouts in my view, just because TI3 is a classic. TI5, what the hell happened? Aoi with techies getting in and just winning it for EG, then disappearing after. Who does that?
Yeah, how about you, Mike?
Yeah, it's hard because I really do agree with pretty much everything John said. I think TI8 was obviously very special as well because OG with the making that massive journey against LGD at the end, very very exciting. But yeah, I mean TI5 EG winning with Aoi was, I think, really surprising for everyone, and I think that kind of just even though it's it's an American team and it's across the world, I think the story was really cool. Apart from that, I mean, you go back to even TI1. I was there watching in the middle of the night, and to me, it's still special to this day. I'd say TI1, TI5, and probably TI8. It's very hard to pick a specific one. Yeah.
Yeah, I think personally I would agree with Mike with TI8. I mean, as an analyst myself, I really had fun with the technicalities that happened within TI8. Like, the games were so technical that time. Like, if you're really not into the game, you really wouldn't understand why they do these things. And I think that's the beauty of it. I mean, I do appreciate Dota in its technicalities. And TI8 was just on a different level when it terms to technicalities when it comes to Dota. But yeah, I believe also the Navi finals in TI3 is also quite memorable. I mean, the Fountain Hook, who wouldn't forget that, right? So yeah, moving on now. On this TI, what do you think are the storylines that we are actually waiting to unfold this TI?
Yeah, there's a lot. I mean, there's. I do expect. I think people again are underestimating Southeast Asia here. I expect T1 to go on a run. I don't know how far, but I do expect T1 to show up, especially with this news that we heard today that there's going to be no crowd at TI. I think that favors newer players and teams, and I think T1 does have a naturally very young, inexperienced team, and stage fright is a thing for the players as well. So I think it will favor them. And I would almost expect the South Americans to show up as well. Like, you've got so many South American teams now. One of them has to perform, right? Like, they've got too many horses in the race. So it's I'm in terms of interesting storylines, I do expect South America and SCA to show up this year.
I see. How about you, John?
I think in terms of specific storylines, it's back to the big story of the unstoppable Chinese juggernaut, right? Like LGD just looked terrifying, just consistently strong, consistently clean. The culmination of this lineup from the shakeup that they had after the last TI, the lineups changed up a bit. There's been some dull periods, but they've really kicked it up into overdrive going to TI. I think that's one to watch out for, whether or not China can retake the crown after a very long lull.
Very long, yeah.
Right? Like, and for the Chinese players, it's not just a matter of team pride. It is also a matter almost of national pride. So that's going to be playing a big factor in their minds going into it, and that makes it interesting to see. For the South American and Southeast Asian teams, I think a lot of people internationally will be looking at T1 for Southeast Asia, but I think in the region, specifically from the Malaysian and Singaporean fan base, a lot more eyes will be on Fnatic. I think obviously with more Malaysian players there, a lot of hopeful eyes in Chuen. We've seen him on and off in the pro scene. He's been up and down. Him and Dat have been in the scene forever. Their first TI. And then that's such a big deal for those players. But as Mike mentioned, with no crowd, that could help calm the nerves. But we'll see. Some teams work better with a crowd. We wouldn't know now with Fnatic whether or not they're that type of players to play with the energy. And we'll just have to see if they can work it out their way. For South America, I mean, there's a lot of storylines there as well. A lot of players first time to TI, a lot of young players coming in. The region's been absolutely looked down upon. If Southeast Asia's ignored, South America's actively, being not derived, but, looked down upon. If C is just ignored, people look down on South America as a region. And I think that's a big mistake. We saw, especially with Thunder Predator in the Singapore Major, they looked amazing. And they're such passionate players. They have as much passion as your Filipino players, as your Filipino fan base, as your Southeast Asian fan base. So I think South America would have really played strong with a crowd. Without the crowd now, it could still work in their favor. I think for me, in that region, it's Thunder Predator. I think them having that coach in fear is going to be a big tool for them to play with, because that was what was missing from the Singapore Major, right, Mike? Like, they came in, they had no coach, and there were just 5 guys playing with their management. Now they've got that coach. It's been a while since Fear's been there. Hopefully it shapes them up, and we'll have to see if it does pay off.
I agree totally with John right there. I mean, I've been watching the games of Thunder Predator for the past majors, and not only majors, but those big tournaments, ESL1 fall, I would say. They actually really played well in that. I mean, it's quite unfortunate, that teams like this are really not not being seen as on the top spot, right? Like, they're good. I mean, they're good. Their Dota is on another level already. And I think, with the addition of Fear, I would say they would be a lot better. Also with the Chinese team, PSG LGD, but we also need to, I think I would personally look at Vici Gaming as well. Vici Gaming is done. I think, if I'm not mistaken, they won the Singapore Major, right? So that is kind of, the storylines, and interesting to see how this one would pan out. Also, without the right now Valve announced that there won't be any spectators on the stage. So that also will, lessen the nerves of the new players, mostly of the new players coming into TI. So those are good storylines right there that we're waiting. Going into the prize pool keeps getting bigger and bigger. I mean, every year it gets bigger and bigger. Do you think the trend will continue for the next TIs?
I hope they stop it. personally. Like I like, look, I know the Dota community is really, really strong, right? Like we're a very strong community, but in the end, I think you've just got to stop with these crazy prize pools because eventually you're not going to be able to hit it. You're not going to be able to go over the last year one. I think you're better reinvesting some of the prize pool into the DPC season instead of
Yeah.
making it literally all about TI. Like majors, what are they? $500,000 in prize pool? Like it just sounds really sad when you think about it. Like there's one tournament worth 40 mil, and then the next best thing is 500K. Like it doesn't make any
Big jump.
sense.
It's a big jump.
Yeah, like why would I play the rest of the year? I'll literally just wait for TI. You know, I don't know. It makes no sense to me. I hope the price pool keeps going up, but I think they could cap it. Dude, 20, 25 mil, still insane money. You could
Yeah.
just divide the rest across the rest of the year. Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's a concurring problem coming in every DPC season. Like a lot of players are getting laxed because they're not taking DPC serious. As long as they qualify for TI, then that's good. They're gonna get a big chunk of money, even though they don't win the grand prize. But I think the problem with this one is it doesn't encourage Dota players to be consistent on their to do their best, because once they qualified for TI, and we've seen it for the past years, wherein some teams qualify for TI, and then on some tournaments they just play around, like they test some things, and I think that is not healthy for the competitive scene of Dota, because the tournaments are gonna be discouraged, mostly if it's the tournaments are late near TI, which is like, and I agree that I think Valve needs to distribute the prize pool, like a big chunk of the prize pool, down to the local events, local tournaments, because that is where you will begin to see more talents. Not only talents in terms of players, but also shoutcasters, talents that maybe could go to TI, right? So yeah, I think I would agree with Mike on that.
Yeah. Like the prize pool going up is great. At some point, we have to look at the rest of the ecosystem, because I think a few people have pointed it out. TI doesn't help the pro scene in as much as you'd think. And it's the spectacle of that prize pool that makes probably the biggest event in esports throughout the world. But something has to be done for the rest of the scene, I think. We saw it before DPC was announced, right? Before DPC was announced, 2020, midway through, we saw two teams drop from Dota 2. We saw GeekFam go, Reality go. And overall, the scene has kind of built off the back of that, with the players just floating around. It has been a benefit for the teams, but losing these orgs coming into Dota, losing these big names in Dota 2, shows that there is some additional supports needed for a lot of players, especially in, I think, bigger regions like NA and Europe. Lower div teams, it's just not enough to live off of being a pro. Like in NA especially, I know a lot of players there actually work jobs. They have to schedule their games around their day jobs, because they can't just be pro, and they're playing in DPC lower div. It's just, it doesn't work out yet.
Because you're not attracting sponsors at all as well, right? With these prize pools for DPC seasons, like what sponsors are coming? Like there's nothing. It's very, very. It's like a desert out there for sponsors, right? Like there's nothing going on. It's if you know TI is gonna happen and it's got like 100 times the prize pool of everything else for that year, as a sponsor, you're not gonna waste your time. You're just going to go move on to another game, like a mobile game or something, and just do that instead. I don't blame them. I'd do the same thing if I was sponsoring some esport.
Yeah, I've heard the suggestion from one of the people in the local scene of Dota here in the Philippines, shoutcasters. Would it be better if we would follow the pattern of League, wherein I'm not quite sure, but I think they're franchising the tournaments? What are your thoughts about that?
I don't like franchising as a system. I think the Dota 2 system, as it is, fundamentally works. It just needs support, and we're not asking for like direct hands-on involvement from Valve directly per se. I don't think that's necessary. I think the scene just needs a bit of a kick, just a little bit more from Valve to sustain the tournaments and just kind of allow the pro players to live off of whatever winnings they can make. Because right now it's just too restrictive. Like when DPC comes out, if you're in the DPC, you technically can't play anywhere else. You can't. If you're an upper div, you can only play in DPC upper div. You can't play third-party tournaments. I believe that's the agreement that's worked upon with the teams and TOs. So in that sense, I think we've seen this before, where DPC is running lower div teams. Not teams that aren't playing DPC have like 2-3 tournaments to play in, and in that sense, their potential payout is actually higher. And that's not a scenario that I think anyone in the Dota Pro circuit wants to face themselves. So I don't think it's something as drastic as asking Valve to take direct control on the esports scene. I think it is just a matter of weird to say, but redistributing how the prize pool is weighted around throughout the year.
I see. Okay, well, enough of money talks right now. We're going to go into the more technical side of Dota. We're going to talk about the TI meta. You know that every TI has its own meta. That's what they say, right? I mean, the bristleback IO, who would do the carry IO for mana would have thought that would come in TI, right? But I just wanted to ask some pointers right here, and I think the viewers, our viewers, would actually also know due to the compendium, the points from the compendium. Now, I wanted to ask, and I think it would be better. It's okay if you could answer it as one, but I wanted to ask, what are the top 5 heroes that you would think that would show up in TI, regardless of the position?
I think Tiny is going to be there in a big way.
Yeah, of course.
I think Tiny's definitely going to be there as a pause 1 likely, but flex to mid. I think you're going to see Silencer either completely banned out or always picked, along with Venge and Dawnbreaker. So those are my 4. Like Tiny, Venge, Silencer, Dawnbreaker. And Silencer and Dawnbreaker go hand in hand. If Silencer is banned, Dawnbreaker is getting picked. If Dawnbreaker is not, if Dawnbreaker is banned, that doesn't necessarily block a Silencer pick, so it still works. But Venge is really strong as well. The last one's pretty open. I'd say Monkey King. Probably Monkey King. I think Monkey King is so strong, which is how much it brings as a support, as a pause 1. Across nearly every position, Monkey King is super valuable. So that's my 5. I think all of those heroes have a lot to give out. Maybe it's just from recency bias from seeing a lot of it in Southeast Asia, but I think that will trickle over to TI as well.
Yeah. How about you, Mike? Your top 5.
It's probably going to be a little bit similar. I agree with Tiny. I think Gyrocopter is going to show up a lot, as we've been seeing a hell of a lot. So Gyrocopter, Tiny, Shaker's making a reappearance. So I think Earthshaker is going to be your another big pickup coming back into the meta. Dawnbreaker, I agree with. I don't know about Silencer. That's the one I don't know about, because I know it's still very strong, but I don't know if it's strong enough for teams to care about. I'm just trying to think of who to replace it with. See, like right now, I'm thinking Necrophos is actually secretly broken, but I'm not 100% sure on that. Like it feels very broken at the moment in the right hands, but I think I'm going to go with the Monkey King as well. I think Monkey King is like just having that inherent flying vision all the time is too much. So yeah, Tiny, Gyrocopter, Dawnbreaker, Monkey King. Do you remember the other one I said, John? What else did I say?
You said not Silencer. I don't know what you said you'd replace it with.
Oh, okay. I wish I could say Hoodwink, but Hoodwink just feels terrible. It feels so bad.
How about Weaver? I mean, I on the pro scene, I've seen a lot of Weavers right now, being played, and his Swarm has been buffed a lot. Do you think Weaver would be also maybe a main pick or ban in TI?
I don't know about main pick. It's a strong flex pick, right? Like you run pause 1 Weaver, it still works. You run pause 5 Weaver, pause 4 Weaver, it still works with the right lineup. So I think there is room to fit in the Weaver. I don't think it's super high priority. I think you're likely to see more Gyrocopter in that same flex as support or hardcore. It feels a lot safer to kind of play around with the Gyro in that sense. Whereas a Weaver, I think the build-up for support we've seen recently, Mike, it's like Brown Boots into Urn, Spirit Vessel, and you're talking about Ags towards endgame. And the Ags isn't the emphasis, just the early
That's for the
aggression.
support. That's for the
That's for the support Weaver. And that's where it seems to be a lot stronger, honestly. Like on the pause
Right.
one, it still works. But the timings on pause one feel really awkward. Like the most success we've seen in our games, we cast it with Mike. It's been Weaver, Javelin, 6 minutes, rotate mid, push tier 1, fight and farm. It's not a heavy farming here. And I think pause one still has that some emphasis on the farm, especially with Mike's Gyrocopter call out and Tiny Core.
There is a new build though on Pos One Weaver recently. I've been seeing it on different streams. The double Falcon Blade build.
Yeah.
I don't know how good it's gonna be, but it's been showing up a lot.
I've seen actually the double Falcon Blade build on several heroes right now. I believe I've watched one RTZ game where he goes Juggernaut boots into double Falcon Blade into a Diffusal Blade. And I mean the Falcon Blade meta right now is kind of strong. I mean I've been watching a lot of pro scene matches or high MMR matches wherein Falcon Blade is being picked early in the game by agi heroes, you know. And I've watched one BSJ video wherein he break down the double Falcon Blade Juggernaut, and he said that it is actually better than than Battle Fury, but much cheaper. I mean, I'm not quite sure because I haven't tested it myself yet, but it seems viable. What do you think about it?
I think Falcon Blade is it ticks all the boxes. I think it gives you the nice regen, bit of damage. You know, it does. It's like it is like Battle Fury in a sense. It's like Yasha in a sense. It's the very easy item to pick up that you can still farm effectively with, and I think the positive as well is you can also fight with it very effectively. Like you're always ready to fight.
Yeah,
you're always ready to farm very efficiently. So I think it might be one of the most picked up items at TI for sure. Like if it's, I don't think there's enough time to change it now. I think it's actually very, very powerful. I do agree though. I think it is very similar to Battle Fury. Like you don't have the bonus, but like the bonus cleave, but I don't think cleave matters anymore. I think at TI we're gonna see those heroes that are inherently good at just farming anyway, just being able to farm without those kind of inherent farming tools like cleave. So yeah, I think Falcon Blade's going to be completely busted, and I think it is quite similar to the Battle Fury in the bonuses.
I see. How about Batrider? I mean, Batrider has been nerfed several times already during the last patches. I mean, his vision has been nerfed. I mean, that 1 second nerf on his first skill is actually big because sometimes you really hit those sticky napalms 1 second before it runs out. So what do you think? What if you could place Batrider? I mean, is Batrider still pickable this coming TI?
I think Batrider is one of those heroes that always has room. If your lineup allows for it, we've still seen teams go towards Batrider still. As long as there's no hard dispel, Lasso is still super valued. And Sticky Napalm still works really well in the jungle, no matter how many times it's nerfed. Firefly still does a lot of good damage. I wouldn't say it's a priority pick right now, simply because it really did just get dumpstered again. And it's been dumpstered back to back for a lot of patches now. So I don't think it will be high priority. I think especially with the prevalence of, say, stuff like Venge on offlane or support, stuff like Abaddon on support, you have a lot of good dispels on hand in your lineup to counteract the Lasso. So you've still got a way of taking away his big piece of kit, and that just slows him down. Then again, saying that, it's like the Shaker, like Mike said. Like with Earthshaker, it always shows up at TI. Batrider almost always shows up at TI as well. And speaking of Batrider, something like Darkseer is the same hero. Even though he gets changed every time they point 0-0 for some reason, Darkseer will show up. So I say that now, but it could still come in just by nature of people going back to it.
I see. I want to talk a little bit about the Vengeful offlane because it has been, it has been showing up since I think the previous major, if I'm not mistaken, and I've been watching games thoroughly. I do see mostly Chinese teams are playing this Vengeful offlane. So would you think this would be a big of an impact when it comes to the draft coming into the TI?
Venge, I think they'll factor it in. It seems to be one of those heroes they particularly like to run on a regular basis. I think Venge is still going to be huge at TI no matter what. to answer your question, I think the Chinese teams will definitely be picking a lot of Venge. Even other heroes like Omni. Like I think people think Omni's suddenly dead. I don't think Omni's dead at all. I think the hero is still kind of busted in the right hands, and I think it is going to be in particular Chinese teams that show us heroes like Venge and Omni aren't actually nerfed yet. I think they're still very powerful.
I see. Now, moving forward to the hero picks, I would like to ask, would there be I know it's kind of awkward to ask, but surprise picks? Who do you think are the surprise heroes for this TI meta? You know, the hero that doesn't really get that attention, but you think that when teams pick it would be better?
That's a tough one. Obviously this does mean thinking out the box, because these are heroes that we probably wouldn't see then in the scene right now as well. Maybe, I mean, Core Undying's been done a couple of times, so it's not really a surprise pick at this point. Pause One Undying.
Yeah, because we've had an IO carry before, which no one actually expected. So what do you think are, the picks coming in CI in line with that idea?
I mean, I don't know about carry. I just mentioned Omni Knight. I think Omni Knight's still busted. I think Necrophos could be very busted. I think Necrophos might show up. We've been seeing Legion Commander a lot, so I guess it doesn't really count. What else is there? There's another one that's been in my mind recently. I'm trying to figure it out right now as I look at the hero list. It's
Offlane Spectre, I think. That's one surprise.
Yeah.
That's one surprise that I don't think, and most people haven't really done. And I think it's only really been Miracle. We've seen a couple of teams in Southeast Asia try it as well. But it's only been Mizu, Miracle, Galvin really doing that. And I think that could be some really strong tech.
Is this the Aghanim's offlane Spectre?
Yes, the Aghanim's offlane Spectre. It's not too often. So that could be one of the surprises that can slide through, because it's still really different. It's still very specific in tempo. But if you can play around that hot timing, play around with once the Ags is up, just be super aggressive, it's really hard to stop the Spectre. Like that Ags is just busted. It basically gives you, I think we were trying to do the maths, it basically gives you an individual haunt while haunt's on cooldown. So like you actually get to use it almost 5 times until your next haunt. So you basically have 2 haunts back to back in that sense. It's super value in fixing the issues with Spectre, because her big issue is cooldown. So it kind of works hand in hand with that.
I think I would give one on that surprise pick. Windranger, I would say. Her Gale Force is really annoying.
Oh, yeah.
Like I've been playing with that Gale Force on pubs, and you really can't run back. I mean, it's really impossible to run back. I mean, it does BKB does counter it, but other than that, your supports would really cry while running back with Gale Force right there. I mean, it strongly repositions the other team back to where the clash is. So I think that would be a great factor. What do you think about that?
Yeah, we could see it. It's global as well, so you're not limited by needing to be in range. Now that you mention it, I mean, we've had 2 years basically without TI now, so I guess you never know what's going to show up. There's so many combos and strategies that I'm sure haven't even been discovered yet, and at TI is when these things do get found out. So I can see Windranger popping up. There's so many opportunities with Dota right now in terms of the heroes and strats. Too many.
I think there are with the addition of the Aghanim Shard and the Aghanim Scepter per hero. I think there's really still tons of unexplored, tactics in Dota that we haven't seen, and maybe we would see it this coming TI. So more. It's more reason to watch TI, right? I mean, every matches would count because you don't know what would pop up right there. So, yeah. Now, going on to not the heroes, but the teams. Could you give me a short list of your top 5 teams coming into TI?
Well, I listed this early. I'm trying to think who I listed. So, LGD, Evil Geniuses. Who did I put as third? There was So LGD, EG. I put T1 in there as well, but I think I put them at 4th. Who else was there? I'm trying to have a look at the team list now. to remember exactly who's there. I mean, there should be a fair few Chinese teams, to be perfectly honest. Like 𝗬𝗀𝗀𝗃 Gaming should be there. Oh yeah, I also put OG as well in my top 5 because you know OG you just don't know, so I put OG in there as well. So yeah, OG, LGD, EG, T1, 𝗬𝗀𝗀𝗃 Gaming.
I see. How about you, John?
I think I'd go with LGD, EG, T1. I think I'd put OG in as well. The last one's a bit harder. I think a lot of teams are super competitive, and for my predictions, I tend to lean towards what I want to see rather than what I think will happen. So I'll say Thunder Predator. I think I would love to see Thunder Predator in top 5. I don't know if it will happen. I'm not saying it will happen, but that's my dream top 5. Likely Thunder Predator up there, T1 going far, and I think that'd be a really good TI for me.
There you go. So yeah, now moving on, the big question for all casters and analysts for Dota: who's gonna be the TI winner?
I think the easy answer is LGD, but that's a very boring answer. I did an article with somebody, and I said it was going to be LGD and EG in the finals, and EG would beat them. I think EG, they came second in both majors. They still need revenge against the 𝗬𝗂𝗀𝗀𝗃. So I think EG might be able to do it. I think they might pull it off this year.
Yeah, I think that's one way. I think I will again go against the grain because trying to be right is more boring. I'd say T1 wins. I'd say T1 wins. We get to see Ignition played on the main stage, and 𝗂𝗂 dances his way to the ages.
Hopefully,
that's how I want to see it.
I mean, I really wanted to see that Ignition on main stage and TI. You know, I really do want like Slacks coordinating with 𝗦𝗃𝗀𝗃 with this one, and then just doing some kind of a presentation in the middle of TI. Like that's gonna be funny. But yeah, I mean T1 is actually doing good as well, so I think that's a good answer. Also PSG LGD. I mean Chinese teams. I mean they've really been consistent. Their play style very clean. You know, they really don't fight as much as the Southeast Asian teams do, but they really do get the job done at the end of the day, which is very, very good. So now we'll be moving on to the last part of our podcast, which is the community questions. So we have some questions gathered right here by our staff, and we just wanted to know, what do you think? Now, just out of the let's go first with this one question. This is from 𝗬𝗲𝗀𝗃𝗃𝗃. If you're going to build your own team, who will be your players?
That's a hard one. Jeez.
So hard. Yeah. I guess I can start. I'd take 𝗂𝗂. I'd take 23 Savage, and then I would shake it up. I'd take 𝗬𝗏 and 𝗬𝗲𝗏 because they have to be a pair. And then I guess I'd steal Jabs away. So that's like my dream Southeast Asian team. 𝗂𝗂, Savage, 𝗬𝗏, 𝗬𝗏𝗏, and then Jabs. I think that would be a very spectacular team. I don't know if it will ever happen. Probably not, but that sounds really fun.
If we're keeping it within SCA, I'll say as one, I'd probably take Jackie. I like the idea of 𝗂𝗂 as the leader. I think 𝗂𝗂 is a very good leader, so I'll take 𝗂𝗂 as well. Mid lane, who's really, really damn good in the mid lane, John? Who am I looking for? What's the name? Who's busted? 𝗲𝗏. We'll take 𝗲𝗏. No, we'll take your We'll take your We'll take your 𝗲𝗃. Gonna take the young blood, We'll take 𝗃𝗃𝗃. 3. Oh, that's 𝗂𝗂's already playing 3. So we need 2 more. 4 and 5. Jabs is really damn good. 𝗦𝗃𝗀𝗃. No, gotta take 𝗦𝗃𝗃𝗃. It's all about keeping everyone happy. Gotta take 𝗦𝗃𝗃𝗃 and 𝗂𝗂 together. And who's number 5? I want to see back in 5, but it won't work. Yeah, bring back March. Bring back March.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, I think really March is one of the best 5s right now. I mean, even though he's not really playing that well, but his game sense is on another level. I mean, I've been watching him, and he could really, read the map properly. When he led TNC back then, I realized how well TNC move around the map, and they just specified like, hey, there's someone who's gonna be here in this area. I mean, that's a I mean a normal thing to do in pro scene, but March is doing it in a consistent basis. So I think I would throw in March right there as one of the
Yeah.
most consistent fives.
I think I know March's technique now as well. I think, Mike, I think all of us have seen a little bit of Squid Game. I think he employs that towards TNC when he was working there. That's his coaching style. And he just threatens you with a game. Let's play a game, guys. That's how he
Let's
works.
play a game. You're not gonna eat your dinner or lunch if you lost, something like that. Something on the lines.
Exactly. That's the March style. There you go.
Yeah. There you go. So another question for from our community, Hans C. Could you give short advice for Dota 2 newbie shoutcasters?
Short advice.
You go on, John. Give him the advice.
Yeah, so kind of goes back to the last points. If you're starting out, right, you don't know where to go first, you don't know what to do. Easiest step, start casting. Doesn't matter how you sound, doesn't matter how it works. If you want to learn, you have to start doing it first because it's different. You know, when you're watching, as Mike said, it seems easy, but when people actually try, it's hard to get your thoughts on the fly. So you just start casting, find replays, ask your friends for replays to cast. And when you're feeling more confident, you know, you get into amateur leagues. So that's how me and Mike met in Echo League. That's how Moxie started as well. That's where a lot of us built up from. So you look for amateur leagues, Reddit Dota 2 League, amateur Dota League, AD2L, ATDL. There's a whole bunch that are always looking for casters, and that builds experience. And that helps you build a network as well, helps you look for a co-caster, and just kind of run from there. So that's the practical side. Maybe you have more specific casting tips there, Mike?
Yeah, I mean, specific casting tips, it's a bit hard. Like, if you have, like, a singing background, like a vocal background, you're automatically going to have an advantage. So if you've got, like, if you sing or something, you know, congratulations, you're already one step ahead. But I guess, like, you know, you just got to, like, try not to be, for lack of a better word, try not to be lazy. Like, you have to really put the work in, because, like, working with your voice is quite challenging, I would say. And you got to put the work in. Find friends that will be honest with you as well. Like, you don't want to hang around with people that tell you you're the best. You need people that'll tell you why you're bad at the job, right? So you got to find good friends that will just tell you what they don't like be honest with you. And go meet people. Like, I think that was or at least my one weakness back in the day was not, like, befriending more casters to talk about it, like, talk about casting and try to get an understanding with each other. So just be friendly, go learn, don't be lazy. It takes a long time though. Like, unless you're blessed by God and you've got an amazing voice, it's very hard. But if you persevere, you'll be fine. You'll make it.
I just want to ask Mike, do you have a background in singing? Because you opened up singing right there.
Oh, did I?
No. I could have asked you to sing if you said yes right there. Now, another
I'd love to hear it.
question. Whoa. Can you, Mike?
No, I legitimately don't sing. No.
Okay, that's okay. Now, one of our staff right here actually asked a question. Just out of the blue, you know, what's your ideal breakfast?
Oh, that's a good question.
I think I have a really good answer to that. Silog. Anything silog. Tap silog, pak silog, corn silog. So silog, Mike, is like it's like silog is sinangag is fried rice. So that's where the C comes from. Yeah, and itlog is fried egg. So it's fried rice and egg plus like a meat, and that's usually a breakfast in the Philippines. So anything silog for me. Those are great. We have a restaurant here in Davao that's called Silog Box. Really great all-day breakfast. Every single time if I can, I have that. So that's it. Just a classic Pinoy breakfast, you know.
I actually had that one earlier, John. Just to let you know, I had that one. We actually ordered from Binalot, one of the restaurants here.
Yes. Binalot.
I got the tap silog one, so that's really good. And I would actually ask Mike that if you come to the Philippines, try one of those. I mean, those are really good, mostly with the salted egg and the tomato inside on the side. Man, it's really good. It's really good. So yeah, I would actually recommend maybe. By the way, have you gone to the Philippines already, Mike?
No, I wish I had. I traveled a lot of Southeast Asia. I have not had the pleasure of the Philippines yet.
Oh.
I was actually planning to go meet John in person for once, but then the pandemic started, so
Oh yeah, everything
we got
ruined
kind
it.
of screwed over. Yeah, exactly right.
Yeah. Well, if maybe John can introduce you to some of the Filipino food, and I think Davao has their area is actually one of the places wherein foods are actually very very good. I mean, once we are allowed to travel, I would really love to come to Davao. I mean, me and my partner right here wants to travel a lot, and Davao is one of our places to travel. But how about you, Mike? Ideal breakfast.
Man, I'm a bread guy. I'm really into bread.
Oh.
I'm a simple man. I'll have bread with eggs on toast and bacon and stuff like that. But I think a good like sourdough bread with some eggs on top and some bacon going, maybe a bit of barbecue sauce or hollandaise or something. Ooh, just making me
Oh.
hungry right now.
Um,
I'm a simple man.
I
I'm
think
a very
that's a bad
simple
question to ask right now.
man.
But yeah, I mean, I'm a steak guy myself as well. I mean, I love
Ooh.
steaks as well. So yeah,
Beautiful.
makes me hang. It makes me hungry. Another question from Miguel right here from the comment section: who will be the most picked hero for TI?
What was the question? Sorry.
Who will be the most picked hero for TI?
The most picked hero for TI. Oh, everyone keeps saying Silencer, and I don't think that's the answer. I think the answer is Monkey King. I think Monkey King will
Yeah.
be the most picked hero at TI, 100%.
Yeah, it's got to
I
be.
see. How about
It's
you,
too
John?
flexible. Same. I think the Monkey King flex on 1 or 4 or 5 even. It's a bit too strong, and you're going to get a lot of value from that. It's not an insta ban as well, unless you're playing against specific teams. Because if you ban Monkey King, you're not banning out Beastmaster, you're not banning out Lycan, Venge, Keeper for light mid, although that kind of died out. All these other higher priority bans, Night Stalker. So Monkey is always likely to slide through, and that probably means it's going to be the most picked hero.
I see. Now, I think this is the biggest question. I think we would end with this one. So, and I think the biggest question of them all right now for TI, even bigger than the TI prediction winner, is OG gonna be possible for that three-peat?
That's tough. That's tough. There's that recent news with Seb.
Yeah,
Man,
I've heard that. But I
I think that
think Seb was actually playing already. I've seen some of his
He
spots.
was.
yeah, I mean he's playing again, but it's still not a sure thing, and I think that does take away a lot of that three-peat strength. If Seb, so mine has a condition. If Seb doesn't play, I don't think it happens. Like it's gonna take a bigger miracle run than their TI8 run to do that, because their TI8 was the lowest point for OG. Right? They had to grab an unknown in Thompson, although he was kind of known already. They dragged Ana back, and they went through the qualifiers. And I think replacing Seb in that equation in this situation, it's even tougher. So if Seb's not there, I don't see it happening. If Seb's there, never say never. I think that's the best way to put it.
I
How about you,
100%
Mike?
agree. Yeah, I agree. I think Seb's the glue that holds the team together and keeps everyone happy. So without Seb, I can't see them making a good performance happen. But yeah, there is rumors that he is coming to play. So I
Yeah.
don't know. Like I keep hearing different things. Graham, have you watched Naruto? Have you watched Naruto before?
Yeah, I
Mr.
actually am watching Naruto. I mean, I finished it, so yeah.
Oh, you finished it, right? So John's never watched Naruto, but here's my theory, right? You have the Sussel fly and the what was it, the no-tail one, Naruto
Yeah.
or whatever. So
Yeah.
now Seb's got one of his eyes operated on, right? And he's like ex-coach, right? So isn't it like he's like Kakashi now, basically?
Kakashi, yeah.
Right? He's got
A
the
little bit kind of Kakashi
he's got the
right now.
Sharingan going now, right? So I'm thinking,
Yeah.
he might come back. It's a surprise. He's coming back. I believe Seb's coming back. And they're probably going to make it happen again for a third time.
I think, but Seb is. I've seen him play Earthshaker the other night, and I mean, he plays like he has no injuries. Like his positioning is too good. It's very good. I mean, it's like he has no disabilities as of now. And I'm not quite sure what their doctor recommended to him because it's an eye surgery. Sometimes you need to rest your eyes, right? So I'm not quite sure if he's cleared to play or not. But hopefully, yeah, I think I would agree with you both that it actually depends if Seb will play. There's a bigger chance that there would be a three-peat if Seb would play this TI.
Yeah, 100%.
Okay. There you go. So I think that will be the end of our podcast right here. Thank you for joining us, John and Mike. Any last words for our viewers right here?
Yeah. Thanks for having us. If you're an aspiring caster, as me and Mike said, start casting. Build up from there. Look for amateur leagues to build up your repertoire as well and go. But thank you for all your support. Thank you, Graham, for asking us to be on. It's a pleasure. It's a good time. Very fun. Good beers on hand.
Yeah, we're good.
And yeah, thank you for having us. It's a great time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mike?
Yeah, I'm the same. Thanks to all the fans for all the support. Obviously, we received a lot of messages over the TI invite selection and things like that. So we appreciate it. We read all the messages. We know we're happy. Don't worry. Go enjoy TI. Don't worry about us. We'll be sitting at home watching as well. So yeah, thanks for all the support. We do appreciate all the lovely messages, and thank you for the invite to the podcast as well, Graham.
No worries. You're very much welcome, guys. I mean, always, maybe we can do it sometime maybe in the future, post TI podcast. Why not, right? So yeah, and again, thank you guys for watching this podcast presented by Midnight Mayhem. Also watch out for our TI coverage this coming 7. We have big surprise in store for all of you guys. So yeah, just watch out for that one. For those who haven't followed the page yet, please follow the page Midnight Mayhem on Facebook. And yeah, and again, thank you guys for watching. Thank you, John. Thank you, Mike. And that will be the end of our podcast till the TI coverage. So see you guys.
3, 2, 1.
This is Keanu Reeves, and welcome to Rush Lane. Rush Lane is a new intense multiplayer racing game where you can compete against real players to win real money. Set in the towering crime-filled metropolis of Hub City, here champions put their life on the line for glory, power, and riches in the ultimate death race known as the Rush Lane. How does it work? Simple. Pay a small stake to jump into the next race. All the stakes go into the prize pool, so the more players, the more money there is to win. Once enough players join, the race is on. Races last just a couple of minutes and are fully automated. Rush Lane is driven by our unique physics-based randomness engine. Starting positions, track segments, and traps are all randomly generated, and we've tested over 10,000 races to ensure no player has any advantage over another. Cheer on your racer as they scream down the winding city streets and through mysterious alternate worlds filled with dangerous traps and pitfalls. The first player to cross the finish line wins the biggest share of the prize pool. But don't worry, the top few finishes are also in the mix to win. The exact number of winners will change depending on how many players were in the race. The more players, the more winners. Rush Lane is live 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, so you can jump into the action anytime you want. Good luck out there, racers. Only on Rivalry.com.
This tournament is powered by Rivalry. Ready, set, bet. Organized by Midnight Mayhem.